was lower, but they're looking for that to be higher in the quarters ahead as their much anticipated drilling of the Hardian well moves forward.
All right, John, thank you very much. They probably didn't produce and drill enough because the government won't let them drill. What I want to know is why is President Obama and his lefty liberal pals trashing one of our greatest American companies that helps fuel economic growth? Let's talk. We have Bob Deans, Associate Director of Communications for the Natural Resources Defense Council, and Bruce Vincent, Chairman of the Independent Petroleum Association of America and Swift Energy President. Bruce, let me start with you. Why on earth is our government taking aim and waging war against ExxonMobil and all the energy companies all of a sudden, trying to drive them out with higher taxes?
Oh, simply because it makes for good political rhetoric. The fact of the matter is it's not the big oil that drills the wells in the United States. It's the 18,000 plus independent oil and gas companies that drill 95% of the wells in this country, produce 85% of the natural gas and 54% of the oil and liquids.
So, Bob, I want to come back to you on this point. Bob from the National Resources Defense Council, welcome to the show. What is wrong with drilling? I mean, Exxon makes a lot of money, but they pay an enormous amount of taxes. In fact, the whole energy industry pays an enormous amount of taxes. Why are we training our guns and sending troops in against American energy companies?
Well, the fact is, Larry, as you know, we drilled 19,000 new oil wells in the United States last year alone. That was more than at any year during the George W. Bush administration. It was more than any year going back more than 20 years, so there's no war been declared.
But that's because of Bush's policies. Bush opened the door to drilling, to be fair. Mr. Obama has not. These take several years, so you know darn well that this is because Bush allowed drilling.
The figures are what they are, Larry. You can make of them what you will. But I think most Americans understand that when a company can make $11 billion in 12 weeks, it doesn't need continued subsidies from hardworking Americans who are out there in a tough economy, struggling to hang on to their jobs, hang on to their homes, make those payments for college for their kids. Not one red cent of American taxpayer subsidies need to continue to go to an industry that makes money like this. This industry made $1 trillion in profits over just the past decade. Now, we're all for profits. We think every American company, including Swift Energy, ought to be making profits. But we think that when you're making that much money, you don't need subsidies from American taxpayers. We need to be investing that money in our future, in renewable fuels, in energy efficiency, and in sustainable communities, and that's what the President's called for.
All right, Bruce Vincent, though. These oil companies that make good money are going to pay close to half of what they made in taxes. They have one of the highest effective tax rates of any industry. And I want to ask you, do you agree that these are so-called tax subsidies, or are they something else?
They're not subsidies, and that's where everybody gets it wrong. The oil and gas industry does have tax deductions for its normal and ordinary business expenses, just like most other industries in this country have. If you look at the facts, and you just alluded to one, the effective tax rate in 2009 for oil and gas companies was 48.4%. If you look at what the S&P industrials were taking out the oil and gas companies, it was 28.1%. So the oil and gas industry pays more than its fair share of taxes. And
Larry,
the comment of all the wells that have been drilled in the last couple of years is a good comment, because in the last 2.5 years in particular, the oil and natural gas industry has helped discover this national treasure that we have in natural gas. And we've done that really in the face of somewhat adversarial energy policy. Think what we could do if we actually had government as our partner.
Bob Dean, the EPA just closed down Shell from doing drilling off the coast of Alaska. Shell's in $4 billion for what is essentially estimated to be 25 billion barrels of oil that we could use. Now, how can the government shut down Shell after making all that investment, and look at what we are losing? 25 billion barrels, 27 billion if I'm not mistaken.
Larry, nobody shut down anything. What the EPA said is these are very hostile waters. You know, we just finished the anniversary of the BP oil blowout in the Gulf of Mexico. 170 million gallons of toxic crude oil poured into some of the richest, most diverse fisheries anywhere in the world. Thousands of fishermen put out of work. A tourist industry shut down. Now, if this happened in Alaska, off the waters that are cold, where you get 25, 30-foot seas, and we don't have an answer to that, the EPA wants to make sure that's taken care of. And so what we're saying is we need to stop putting our workers and our waters at risk, and a company that can do that in a sound and responsible way is able to go back into the Gulf of Mexico.
Let me get Bruce. I want Bruce to react. Bruce, I'm sorry we're out of time. You got 25 seconds. What's your reaction to what Bob Dean just said?
First off, the EPA is not in control of the drilling activity. They're in control of the air issues, and that's what they shut Shell down for. The Department of Interior has done a really good job in improving the standards that we have drilling offshore.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Bob Deans, Bruce Vincent, that's all for tonight's show. I say drill, drill, drill. We will be back tomorrow night.